Good afternoon and welcome to the daily FX crossover with ForexAnalytix. And I guess the big mover, we've seen the dollar going in pair back and the euro rebound a bit, but the big mover has been this dollar yen. Holy smokes, what a move. Um, and let me just go in and grab something here. If you're following us here on Face, I've spoken with Dale about a couple of days back or 3 days back about we thought that potentially we could get up to 927. The pivot, and I talked about, we went over about, how the market had been way up in here, and we thought the market would get to the pivot down here. We saw a rebound. Obviously, we broke below that. And I thought we'd get a return back to the pivot potentially on FOMC day, depending on how that played out. And I spoke yesterday with Dale, and I think he might have been looking at this same number also, or we were talking about that. We spoke specifically, but I was looking for this number here, and we finally got up there. We actually got up there in the Asian session, and if you're with us with FX ForexAnalytix, and like I said, I offered it yesterday. Take a tour, 10 days, $1, get a feel what it's like. As I said, the chat room is to me that's the biggest selling point. Is the chat room. I mean, we have great analysis, as I mentioned before. Blake does, all the basic technical. I do a little bit, on the weekend for the week, but looking out. But Blake pretty much does it all, during the day, each day. And of course, Stelios and Steve. We have the macro, and we have harmonics, as well as Elliott wave with Gregor. But to me, the biggest point is the chat room, because of all the support you get there. And there's many different styles. I mean, I'm primarily a scalper. I did sell up here, but guess what? I've already been out of the trade. So there was Bierschman, who joined us here in the Asian session. Blake was there in the Asian session. And so was Bierschman, put on a trade. And I think a couple other guys. I think Nidish was there. And this market kept moving high. I'm thinking, okay, I'll wait. I'm going to wait till it gets to 927. And we were hanging around 920. And I almost put on the trade. And I'm like, no, I'll just go and give it an opportunity to go and get there, and I'll be doggone. It went up there real quick. It went up there so fast, it jumped up to 31. So I actually it dipped and it was turned back. That's where I got off the trade at 28. Well, I'm long gone. I already covered and already out, but boy, I wish I hadn't, because like I said, that's that's sometimes a shortfall of being a scalper. Is sometimes, I had a longer term outlook because I think we can eventually fall to 630. My concern is with equities overall, because I point out with the Dale yesterday, and as Blake was leaving, that the previous day, the Euro Stock 600 was down 1.5%, its biggest fall since May. So my whole thing with the yen was, of course, a safe haven, and potentially we could get, I believe, down to 630 here on the daily. Like I said, I wish I was still short. I'm not. So like I said, sometimes you look at those short-term horizons. They're great, but sometimes, like I said, it helps if you had a more longer-term horizon. Although that was my thought that we get down here, but once again, to me, that's the premium point for the ForexAnalytix as far as the chat room, because there are traders like Bierschman who got short with me up there. I think he put his trade on 926, mine at 928. Blake was up there. Right at about 20, was that he said, well, I'm hanging on for longer. I actually took off a third, 10 pips later, another third. I think it was like, when we came on with the crossover, I think it was like 908, I think. I'm not sure, 905. And then the last third, I got off at, I think it was 884, 885. And look, we've continued to go and fall. But my point being is that other people like Amanda, I know that she was looking to be short, and she was short before, but she's hanging on for the longer term. So that's what I'm saying. The advantage of the chat room is you get so many different perspectives and so much support there. To me, that's the real strength of ForexAnalytix. So yeah, we got this call off, and I was looking for 927, hip, hip, hurrah, whatever, but I'm already out of it. And look, we've continued to go and fall. I wish it was still short. But once again, there's other traders in the chat room who have longer term perspectives, And Amanda, she's been short, and I think she's still probably still short. So that's, once again, like I said, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of, like Dale likes to call it, knowledge sharing in the chat room, and people sharing their entries, their exits, loss or gain. I mean, we all have our, situations where we get, knocked around, here and there, but everybody's there to support each other, share information. I think we had a new person join, was earlier today. Her name is, I think they were calling her Manda. I believe it's Manda. I mean, it's a little bit longer name, but I'm saying is one of the guys was saying, hey, it's okay if we call you this for short. So anyways, that being said, boy, have we really fallen off the cliff on here. And that's what sometimes, it can be good to be a scalper, but it's good to have a more longer term horizon also, whether you're a scalper or not. So some of the people were trying to get long here at 850, and I was like, wow, I never would have thought it would fall on that far. That's a good area. You can see all the touches, but I said, but hey, you know what? Overall, my longer term is still for 630 that I discussed with Dale. Like I said, I think it was on Tuesday, I believe. So look, I mean, God, when these markets turn around and they get going, and we talked about that with the yen. Remember we talked on, if you were with us on Face, I was saying, and I think I may have done here on the daily roundup, is that once it gets going, whew, it can really drop. And boy, I didn't expect it to drop like this, or I wouldn't be out of my shorts. But I'm saying this is the mover for today. Obviously, the big mover. Also, dollar CAD. You can see here we stretched them up here, and then we quickly paired back. Obviously, the dollar's kind of easing back. Blake called that one right dead on the money because he was looking at this market to potentially disappoint some people. And if you think about it, after we had this pretty big run up, you think about it, and it's good to have a little bit, even if it's not really, if as a scalper, even if you're looking over the next 2 or 3 days, if we're way up here and you got a big event like the non-farm payroll, what if it disappoints? So I guess they stepped in and started taking some of those profits. And Blake got long from down here. And Blake was looking for this number because I tell you what, in the Asian session, same thing. Everybody supports one another. Blake was saying, we're looking for this market going low. And I said, hey, you know what? I go, our bias chart support for yesterday was 1079/52. We got a bounce from 59. So here we are at 52, and Blake goes, oh, yeah, well, great, because if it breaks here, I think we'll get to around 10 and a quarter. I think we said 10 and a quarter. Well, we just about got down there. We got down to 1020, let's look, about 1027, and I did find a level in the chart in the European crossover for 1020. But Blake got long. He already had a plan there, and look, nice rebound. Great. I mean, it was a great call by Blake. But like I said, once again, if you were in the chat room, you already knew about that. About he was looking for that entry in Asia. And in Asia, that's what we were taking on the dollar yen, right there at the pivot. And once again, we had discussed the pivot. Once again, my point is the strength in numbers and support that you get through ForexAnalytix in the chat room is where the real strength is. Great analysis across the board, and we have our patterns in play, but it's the community that is really the most supportive, and all the different trading styles. And different, a lot of the folks in there during the European session trade the cross rates. I like to trade the majors. I have traded the cross rates. My style's not to hold, and sometimes you do have to go and hold. But like I said, there's a lot of different styles, different markets. A lot of the guys today were trading indices. Some people also trading, obviously, the metals. Olivier's been trading the metals pretty actively, as well as the dollar. So once again, like I said, just want to touch base with where tomorrow's NFP. We'll see how that comes out. We'll do the analysis tomorrow in the European crossover. Once again, you're able to go in there and follow that. If you're not here at 4 a.m. live, well, not a problem. Stelios records it and makes it available in the chat room about an hour and a half before the New York Open. You can see the recording. It is available later on and made the public, but it's not till about 10:30 Eastern. That doesn't do you a lot of good if you're using this at scalp levels. New Zealand dollar still weakening here, but like I said, the big mover today, no doubt about it, is a dollar yen. And once again, my take was, and I did not expect this thing to come off like this. I expected it in time to come off, because look at it here. I'm thinking we can get down to 630, and really about just being a safe haven currency as the bourses start to weaken or continue to weaken. And boy, are we seeing a dive. And like I said, that's why sometimes it helps, and I'm saying this in a helpful way because I'm already out of it. It doesn't do me any good now, and I'm trying to see if I can get a bounce to get back in on the short side. But the thing is if you have that outlook, even if you're a scalper, and my outlook was 630. One thing I knew was I've made that mistake, but at least I knew better than to do that, which was I'm looking for eventually. And the guys were asking, the those that were looking at it getting long in here at 853 said they were looking at it. And I'm like, well, that is a very good area, but my overall outlook, I'm already out of it, is for 630. So in that situation, I know I don't even want to be a buyer. I mean, because once this thing gets going, it can really slide. This is different from where Blake became a buyer, because guess what? Blake said, hey, I can trade counter term, but look where Blake's picking up. This euro has already fallen like, like a, tooth the submarine horn, down, 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 down. So Blake's coming in at a very good value area. But with the dollar yen, if you try and catch it here, you might just be coming into that point where people that got long said, this is where this is my uncle price. I got to get out. And sure enough, bottom one and slid down. Now, eventually we'll get a bounce, but we may not get that bounce until we get down here. Probably we might even have to crack 08, and probably like maybe around the 788, we'll probably see a bounce from there. But in the meantime, boy, you've got some things that not only technically are going for against you if you're long, but also the reason why I felt this was going to be a great opportunity. And I mentioned in the phase ahead, a few days before FOMC, and then on the FOMC day, I was talking to Dale. I thought this was going to be to provide the most bang for the buck, because I thought that it could get to 927 to pivot, and boy, I thought we could go and pair back from there. I didn't think it would come off like this quickly. So we'll just go on and quickly touch base on the cross rates. And like I said, to me, I have quite a few people in the chat room that did really well. But like I said, it's a sincere, I guess sincere, I don't know if it's called an observation, but, the point that I'm making is, and like I said, it's the strength of the chat room that has really helped all of us. And like I said, we all benefit from that. Blake himself has said, sometimes he goes, hey, I catch ideas from there, because someone will say, hey, XYZ is moving. And he goes, wow, I didn't even realize it. And he puts on a trade. Everybody's very helpful, very supportive. It's like I said, that is the strength of ForexAnalytix. Don't want to sound all corny, but hey, look, I tell it like it is. So it is what it is. And like I said, if you're considering it, I would definitely go in and take the 10-day trial just to go in and poke your head around. But like I said, the chat room, boy, what a source of not only knowledge but support. But anyway, like I said, let's take a look at some of these cross rate pairs. Obviously, the euro yen still weakening here. I mean, obviously with the yen strengthening, what do you expect to go and have happen? And the guppy actually, we thought we probably would have come even lower, but the guppy has been pretty well beat up. So even though the yen is strengthening, we're not making new lows in the guppy, but come on, the guppy's been going low, 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 low for a long time. We pointed out yesterday the amount of fall. I think we pointed out today on the European crossover webinar. Look at this thing. This thing has fallen 15 full handles. I mean, that's just unbelievable. So the idea that the guppy is holding up here better than, let's say, the euro yen is really not saying a lot. It's just that that's after falling 15 big figs. I mean, that is unbelievably huge. But like I said, everything else is and we also see gold. What a rebound here off of these lows. We finally made it down to, I've been looking, but that was like about a couple of weeks ago, potentially a move to single digits. We did get that, but I thought maybe it would have been sooner than that. And we finally got here, but boy, what a nice rebound here in the gold market here. But like I said, we just want to touch base, kind of let you know where things were at as of today. It's going to be, I think, one of the guys in the room, I think it was Chi, was the one that said, wow, today's a big FU to the shorts that got stopped out, and now the market turns around and comes back, and he's talking about the dollar short. So I think now the market will stay relatively quiet as we get ahead and get prepared for non-farm payroll, and we'll be covering that with a little bit of a trying to think of the right word, but approach on how we want to go and handle that. And that'll be obviously in a more lengthy webinar, which will be on the European crossover webinar tomorrow, which is going to be about 3.5 hours before the NFP. But once again, thanks for joining us here. like I said, wow, look at this dollar yen still going lower. So, I mean, anybody that tried to pick up this thing is just getting knocked the heck out of the box here. And the peso, look, we talked about this in the European crossover webinar. We'll finish off with this is, we in the European crossover, we've been talking about this 1923.6 like for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I mentioned this in the chat room when we were getting above it. I said, and today that is our bias chart resistance here in the dollar peso, 1923.6. And we even marked it off as our pivot. Remember how we had the dollar yen, 1927. And we were getting above it. And I said, hey, look, it's getting above it. But the key thing is to close. And that was just on the 2-hour bar. That's all I wanted. I go, hey, look, close above the 2-hour bar, and then we can make a move for 1943. We can't even do it. This 1923.6 is just like the Rock of Gibraltar, just can't seem to get past that number. But that's all we got. Thanks for joining us here on the FX Daily Wrap-Up.